All right, on this, we've now roped in Professor Bheki Mngomezulu, Director of Center for the Advancement of Non-Racialism and Democracy at the Nelson Mandela University. Prof, a very good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for your time. I want to start on the GNU matter. I mean, just your thoughts around the NEC's alignment and openness to stay within the GNU whilst also expanding the GNU. I mean, what are the implications, if any, with the current GNU partners?
Thank you very much, Nancy, for having me, and good afternoon to your listeners and viewers. This multi-party coalition will remain intact, not necessarily because it is getting stronger, but because politicians are worried about positions and blue lights. And that is a fact. But then if you put that aside, the reality of the matter here is that when the president addressed the public after this meeting, the 4-day meeting, he said that this coalition government is intact, a view I disagree with. And right now, Mr. Mbalula, who is the SG of the party, is saying that the coalition government is a technical strategy. No, it is not. It's a marriage of convenience which was necessitated by the results of the election. It's not as if the ANC voluntarily decided to have this kind of an arrangement. Having said that, the expansion or the possible expansion of this coalition government will depend on the other members, because you recall that parties like the EFF were clear that they will never be part of this coalition government if ever the DA and the Freedom Front Plus are part of it. So then the question will be, what form and shape will that expansion entail? And then what will other members of the coalition, the other 9 members, except for the ANC, will say if ever other members are voted? So that will be something that the ANC will have to think very seriously in order to make sure that they sustain the status quo, even though the coalition government, as I say, is weak, but at least it's good that South Africa has a government of some sort.
Yeah, in fact, President Cyril Ramaphosa in that address saying that, in fact, the GNU is stable and it brought some sense of stability. Fikile Mbalula then saying today that, South Africans are very happy with the GNU. But, Prof, just to expand on this, to what extent will, this change the balance of power within the GNU if indeed they do entertain other parties? I mean, will the ANC retain control or give greater influence to new partners?
Politicians are a very strange species, Unat. Ordinarily, you'd expect that if there are more other political parties other than the ANC being part of this coalition government, they would have a louder voice. But unfortunately, money talks. Once you give certain politicians money, they will definitely do what you want them to do. The saying that he who pays the piper calls the tune. So once you give someone money, then of course you can dictate what will happen next. So ordinarily, if you have an expanded multi-party coalition government having more than 10 members, which is currently the case, you would then expect that these other members were either in the opposition in the previous administration or are the newly arrived parties that don't necessarily have serious political package, but then they'll form part of the opposition parties, or they'll form part of the opposition parties in the sixth administration. So it's very difficult to read the minds of politicians, because what appears to be clear to you and I will be something totally different to politicians. And what is supposed to be obvious, then it's not that obvious when it comes to politicians. So anything is possible. But that possible expansion will definitely mean that other parties will have a louder voice. But of course, not disregarding the fact that they have smaller numbers compared to the ANC. So that is another factor that we'll have to look into.
And I mean, I want to touch now on the issue of the SACP as we wrap our conversation, Prof, having, registered independently for the 2026 municipal elections. Fikile Mbalula again today in the press, conference asked if they are retiring the towel or throwing in the towel, saying that they are not, but that the SACP rather insists on its part and that they need to concede that they will fail to persuade them otherwise. I mean, could this policy discord of sorts lead to future realignment of the tripartite alliance? What are we likely to expect?
You know, there is something very interesting here, Unati. The president and the SJ are singing in different tunes, and the SACP is singing a different tune altogether. Coincidentally, while the ANC-NEC had a meeting, a 4-day meeting, the SACP was celebrating its 104th anniversary at Kwatange, around Mpange. When the president was saying that the alliance is intact and they are going to continue with this alliance, Solomon Paela, on the other hand, was saying that the ANC has undermined the ACCP, which is the reason why they decided to go it alone in next year's local government election. So basically, we have these alliance partners written from different groups and sending different messages. So going forward, I think the SACP will also have to think seriously about what it has been doing all along. Because in the past, the SACP has been threatening the ANC, but not taking any action. And this time around, we see them saying that they are going to go it alone, like they did in last time in the local government election. So if they want to part ways with the ANC, they must just say so and be frank about it. And the ANC, on the other hand, if it wants to continue without the SACP, it must just say so. Because the game they are playing is confusing everyone, myself included. I don't know right now whether the ANC and the SACP are still friends or enemies.
Absolutely, Prof. Let's leave it there for now. Thank you so much for your time, Professor Bheki Mngomezulu, Director at the Center for the Advancement of Non-Racialism and Democracy at Nelson Mandela University, just weighing in on the ANC-NEC outcomes.